gonna rub it in. No, I don't even have you talking about that game. I'm gonna hand that one over to Reinforce, who kind of dodged a bullet here. Not gonna lie, right? We did allow the last second, literally last second flip-flop, but I do want to know, did Paris Eternal redeem themselves in your eyes with the performance in that victory today?
Yeah, I mean, to some extent they did, because they actually improved on their loss the other day. I think last time around we looked at the Paris Eternal, we didn't like the teamwork they had, took a rough loss to the Toronto Defiant. This time around, they looked way more confident. Obviously, they flexed around to different kinds of compositions, whether it was Orisa, Reinhardt, Wrecking Ball once more, but the individual players were popping off. Only God had a way better game individually. And also, I think the London Spitfire, they're not as good as the Toronto Defiant, so that's obviously just going to help Paris Eternal shine in this example. London Spitfire, though, they put in Sparker, playing this Hunter composition. This is what we saw, for example, the Florida Mayhem do yesterday against the Houston Outlaws as well. So the London Spitfire, they had a great idea about the meta going into the Countdown Cup, but it just doesn't seem like the okay, I can't explain this. I cannot explain this. This is I mean, I don't know. Never mind, I'm not gonna go there. London Spitfire, some points it looked good with their compositions, some points it looked bad. But Paris Eternal was the team that looked the best this time around, and that's why they won 3-0. For real though, the Paris Eternal, obviously as you mentioned, they've qualified for the play-ins now. This is a team that could be very exciting to see in the play-ins, because usually we have a bit of a meta shift as we head towards the playoffs and the play-ins. The Paris Eternal, based on what we've seen from them the last few weeks, they can play pretty much everything, and they'll be a very competitive team. You can take a look at the bracket yourself. Only Boston Uprising are yet to secure their play-in spot, with Florida Mayhem with an outsider chance of making it in there. But Paris Eternal, Toronto Defiant, they've secured their spots into the play-in. So congratulations to the Paris Eternal, a team we didn't really expect to go 8-8 as we went into the season.
No, I think this can't be stated enough, actually, because if we were looking at those two EU teams, it was the London Spitfire, which came in, you know, with those highly praised players from EU contenders, and it looked like, you know, Paris Eternal just got the second best players from EU, you know, like kind of the leftovers. It just kind of seemed like that mix up afterwards.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people would have expected London Spitfire to actually be the better team from that region at least, but it ended up being Paris Eternal, where it just all came together, which is just fantastic. So a well-deserved clinch spot. They went 8-8 in the season. Now, if we're looking at the Countdown Cup, they are, of course, still having more points they can collect, right, if they manage to actually make it into the Countdown Cup. How do you see them faring against the other teams which are up there?
I'm a little worried for Paris. Obviously, I think not looking at today's match, looking at yesterday's match against the Toronto Defiant, as much as the Toronto Defiant has been playing well, they're going to have to go up against one of the better teams that we have in the West, the Atlanta Reigns, the Los Angeles Gladiators. I expect to make it their way up there as well, the Houston Outlaws. I don't see Paris getting over there, at least with how they're playing right now. But, you know, they've shocked us before. They've had great performances. They've got great wins. So a long shot, maybe the underdogs heading into the Countdown Cup.
Yeah, we love a good underdog story, though. So yeah, I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Everything is possible. We've seen a lot of upsets this season. So why not throw another one in there, shall we? Now we do have a next match coming up, and that one is going to be played out between the San Francisco Shock and the Vancouver Titans. And Costa, I want to get your thoughts here and pick your brain. What do you want to see from those two teams heading into this match?
Honestly, just good looks, because there's a lot on the line for both teams, but they're very different things. So for the San Francisco Shock, we haven't seen them for a couple of weekends, but they looked pretty good last time they played. They went to 5 with Dallas Fuel, but unfortunately did lose. But the question becomes for them, are they going to be able to three-peat? Right now, the answer is probably not. Let's be real, but we want to see good performance, because they are on that cusp of getting into the playoffs and not having to go through the play-ins, and they've obviously had a struggled season compared to what we know them for. On the other side, the Vancouver Titans, a team that got their first win last weekend. Breadsticks, everyone was really high, everything was going great. We thought that maybe they're going to be able to do it, they'll be able to beat London quite handily, but they went on to a pretty bad loss against the Washington Justice, I believe it was, and they just didn't look as cohesive. So was it a one-off? Are they going to be able to replicate that performance that got them the last win? Because they can't beat the Shock. The Bread Bowl is tomorrow. I think it's tomorrow. The Bread Bowl is tomorrow. That's
so
what really matters.
It is.
Stay tuned.
London.
12 p.m. PST. don't
Yes.
miss it.
Need to be
Don't
there
wanna
for
miss
that
it,
because,
yeah.
and this is the precursor to that match. London just heavily struggled. How are Vancouver going to do? How is this match for tomorrow going to fare?
All right, so yeah, let's see their warm-up round against the San Francisco Shock happening in just a little bit. And for all of that, we're going to hand it over to ZP and Doa, who are joining us for this phenomenal match.
Hello.
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 Yeah,
How are you guys
it's
doing?
No, what are you doing?
It's
all right.
rare that you guys are up at this hour, is it? Like,
Yeah.
That's right.
I don't
It's,
think we
it's
talk
strange.
all season when different
sun
time
is out.
zones now. Yeah.
The sun is out, and that's very weird. You've called upon the two cast men of the 3-0 Apocalypse. Remember that last time ZP and I were here to cast San Francisco versus Vancouver, and it was the fastest match that had ever been seen in the Overwatch League. So, naturally, they had to bring us back, right? Yeah.
Well, also, it was a bit of a monkey's paw because I know in my contract many years ago, I went to the bigwigs up top. I said, I will only cast rematches of Shock Vancouver, thinking that I'd be getting the greatest matches of all time. And now
Yeah.
we've gotten
Here
to
we
the current
are.
era where Vancouver is very different. So,
ZP, my eardrums have just exploded.
I was about to say, like, that was really loud.
That was so loud. That's right. I will never hear again, but at least the last thing I ever heard was the dulcet tones of Z Pyramid. It's great. So the dodecahedron is here as well.
I don't know what happened.
Perfect.
I don't know what happened either. It's a mystery. It's just more hype, right, Desk? It's just more hype
True,
coming to this
true.
one,
Oh,
isn't
yeah.
it? Yeah.
Loud is
Yeah,
funny,
I'm
though.
awake
Never
now.
forget
I'm
that.
awake for this one. So thank you,
That's
thank you
right.
so much, CP.
All right. Well, thanks for stopping by, Desk. We always appreciate it when you do exactly that. Well, ZP, here we go. Here we are again, back in North America. Well, virtually anyway, I suppose, for the same matchup like I mentioned earlier we did before. It's the San Francisco Shock versus the Vancouver Titans. And the thing is that San Francisco actually has a good amount to play here for, because they play Toronto tomorrow, I believe, or later in this weekend anyway. And so getting a 3-0 here today is pretty important because they still have that chance to take that third spot in the West region overall and avoid the play-ins. That's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, it is. And I think the Shock are in this weird situation where because their tournament performance this year hasn't been very good, people just go, oh, the Shock, they're not a good team anymore. But then you actually look at the overall league standings, it's like, wait, the Shock have a lot to play for. They're one of the very top teams in the league by record. And you think about it, there's plenty of cases throughout sports in general where, yeah, a team might not look the best in the regular season, but you finish with a decent enough record, you go into the postseason, and you surprise people and remind them that, hey, we're actually a really good team.
Yeah, exactly. And, that's the thing, right? Because this roster is so talented. I mean, just look at these fine young gentlemen and their Overwatch skill. They have been great to watch all season long. Obviously, they have a pedigree to live up to with the San Francisco Shock name in the Overwatch League. And so while you would think that a 3-0 against the Vancouver Titans would be a foregone conclusion, you gotta take it seriously, right? So I think we're gonna see this team step up. I don't think we're gonna see any messing around today. I think we're gonna see serious Shock.
Yeah, I think this is a Shock that's going to be out for blood. And just like I'm out for eardrums right now, where, when we're off camera, I'll see if I can fix whatever's going on there. As it's not just you, Doa. It's not just the audience. It's also production. Where, what I think happened? I think my headset got caught on one of the dials right as I was standing up. So I was I sure hope it didn't change anything. And apparently it did.
It may have. It may have just changed something. Who knows? But we'll figure it out. Don't worry. But yeah, I'm excited because we've got this matchup right, and we've got the Vancouver Titans. They got their first win. They are no longer winless. Only 2 teams remain with that illustrious designation. But they could still play spoiler to the San Francisco Shock. And although your playoff hopes might be over, if you're the Vancouver Titans, at least you can go down swinging. And I think that's what I'd love to see from this team today.
Yeah, I think Vancouver, they've had an interesting stage so far where they've looked better than expected. I think that this matchup is probably a little bit unfair to expect them to come out and, have a huge performance. But hey, I mean, it's also a situation where all the pressure is on the Shock, no pressure is on Vancouver. And, that's a sort of situation where a team that's seen as an underdog can have a little bit of an advantage. So we'll see if Vancouver has the most of it and, most importantly, has a little bit of fun.
Yeah, we'll find out. I mean, it is going to be a fun match either way. I wonder if San Francisco is like, all right, well, we already got like the world first speed record against Vancouver Titans or any team really in the Overwatch League. I wonder if we can beat that record today. That thought has got to be going through their heads a little bit. But I think Vancouver has legitimately improved a little bit over the course of the season. I don't think we're going to see things be quite as easy as they were back in the June joust, but you never know. Like I said, ZP and you and I have a habit of casting some of the quicker beatdowns of the Overwatch League this season. A lot of those involving the LA Valiant, but we like to come over to NA for these matches too, I guess. But let's go to Oasis, our control map, and see what happens as hopefully you can get your sound thing fixed, because I will literally be deaf by the end of this map if that doesn't happen.
Well, you see, right now I'm actively adjusting it. Like, I'm
that's
trying to
already
sound
better.
normal, but I'm already
way
looking
better.
at it, and it's like, yeah, I'm just about at the right level. Yeah, there we go. I
Bit
think
more,
we're good.
I'd say. All right,
A bit
all
more?
right.
It's still a little bit loud? No, I think we're good.
A little bit. We're good. Okay, well, there we go. Esports in action, ladies and gentlemen. This is the beauty of remote casting. It's time to start our series here. San Francisco Shock versus the Vancouver Titans, of course, starting things off on City Center here in Oasis. And we will see. We will see what sort of fight Vancouver has brought for the Shock here. Now, the Shock don't have a win rate above 50% on any of the first 4 maps in the series. Yeah, sure. But they're still doing pretty well in the season overall. It's still the Vancouver Titans. I think an upset would be one of the biggest we've ever seen in Overwatch if it does happen.
Yeah, I think this is one of those things where you look at it and you go, wait, maybe all the rumors and tales about the Shock not being as good this season are true, because I don't know. They still have a really good record, but then it's like you lost to a team that's been struggling all season long, only had 1 win. So, Shock, we'll see if they can live up to the dominance here in Vancouver. Let's see if they have something to do here. Right now, look at the Shock. Shock for now.
Yeah.
Not doing anything too crazy. Just kind of walking at Vancouver, where Vancouver more under pressure to make something happen with the dive.
I mean, hey, when you play a composition like the Shock are, you can just kind of walk towards the team slowly, stay as that cohesive unit, stay behind the shields, give your DPS a chance to shoot a bit, and there it is, a kill already on a Delta, so it's a good start for Shock.
Yeah, Hans just immediately flicks, grabs him immediately, and yeah, 2 down already. And the Shock don't even have to do anything crazy here,
Flashbang.
though. When you get 2 early pickoffs, it's just you secure what you have, you make sure no one gets picked off in the process, and just really smart play from the Shock, built off that early pick.
Yep, absolutely. And so Vancouver already on the back foot going forward here. And it's going to be tough if you're playing things like the Sombra Tracer sometimes to get back in onto this, right? Obviously, Sombra can flank and find hacks here and there. A hack on the Reinhardt is pretty huge. But you've got so much to stop those damaged players in their tracks in terms of the flashbang, things like that. So I think if Shock just keeps rotating here as a unit, they should be pretty good.
Yeah, Shock kind of dropped the window a little bit early there. I mean, it does force Vancouver to take a wider path, but all in all, still 31% here on City Center. And, Vancouver, to a degree, they are kind of waiting for EMP here. Transcends up, and Narrow takes out Dalton early.
Ooh.
And wait,
Oh,
what?
no.
Vancouver's investing here down 1. This is highly questionable. No one on Shock was even low. I don't know what opportunity Rule saw there, but it does not pan out, Doa.
Yeah, Fried Wiener down as well. Fire does get the kill on the Nero, but it's looking pretty rough for the Titans overall. And, that is, you get those situations, right, where the team call is to go in, you lose someone immediately at the start, you try to make something out of it. Maybe they still can. With kills coming out for Vancouver now, looks like they might be able to flip it after all.
That was weird. Long after the Transcendence was over, when Shock had a huge advantage, Ons just goes a little bit far out, gets picked by Chongsik, and the fight turns. And, it doesn't have a lot to do with the Transcendence, but the Shock give away that one almost for free in Vancouver. Now the shot.
Yeah. And, hey, you got the percentage going. Can't really ask for too much more, right? They've got the rally to sort of sustain themselves. They will have the self-destruct fairly soon, too. But you know what? Shock has a lot of tools as well coming into this one. It's going to be a little bit tricky, and we are very close, if not in one-fight territory, for Shock to close out this round.
Shock, they don't have to do too much here. I mean, now that they've played the rally, they do have to be a little bit more aggressive and looking for targets. But Vancouver, they see the rally, they count the rally of their own. So Vancouver's going to wait a moment, head on in, a little bit of rally advantage. Smurf, though, dropping the shatter. Puts the ball to the ground, he's going to get it, the bomb to the back, and that's 2 easy picks. Hans, though, falling to the back. Fried actually getting 2 with Linkser in the follow-through. Vancouver still might hold this point.
Yeah, Fried Wiener trying to keep it alive, and Lynx are helping out a little bit as well. Looking for that remet kill. Tons of fun. Nope, doesn't quite get it. Oh, doesn't get back in the mech at all. Shoyobin finds the kill there. This has been a scrappy point number 1 for both of these teams. Shock's still on the verge of taking it. Maybe if Nero can find a good pulse bomb, they can secure it. Looks like they have anyway. So it's all about the cleanup now for Shock. It's all about finishing the objective now and maybe finding a couple picks around the outside to make sure that Vancouver never gets a 6v6.
Yeah, the weird thing about that is that, Vancouver, they actually could have blown the Transcendence there and when the fight was more even, because Fried had done a great job of, bringing it back to a winnable fight, but, Vancouver, they decided to save for what could be the final fight here. Linkser in on the side, very close to EMP. Needs to drop this EMP before a Pulse Bomb pick comes out. Vancouver engaging fast here is of maximum importance. Roof drops the Transcendence, Pulse Bomb in from there. Those strikes fire out of the fight early. Linkser drops EMP, but it's after 2 already dead.
Well, the Dragon Strike comes through, doesn't really connect with anybody, and it looks like it's going to be a round win for Shock. As soon as they can finish off Linkser here, he's going to go ahead and teleport away. That should be it. San Francisco Shock secure the first point here on Oasis.
Yeah, and, there were flashes of brilliance from Vancouver there where it not so much in terms of ult economy, where the ult economy was a little bit shaky, but just, you mentioned the idea of scrappy fights where Vancouver was able to mechanically get some good picks, turn fights in ways that they probably shouldn't have been turned, but all in all, not enough to win the round.
Yep, that's right. So, Vancouver, we'll see what they can do here on our second round, but it's looking a little bit grim already. How much do you think that was a compositional mismatch, too? Because I just feel like what the Titans were trying to use just weren't able to break through against Shock's kind of hardpoint composition.
Yeah, I mean, I think with what Vancouver was running, it was really reliant on Linkser getting big hacks and, quick EMPs. I don't think it was a huge mismatch per se, but Shock definitely had the neutral game advantage throughout the entirety of that, which put way more pressure on Vancouver to have clean engages.
Sure enough, well, Shock able to take the high ground early here as they drop down as the point unlocks. A couple hacks come through, and it looks like that might be something Titans can capitalize on.
Yeah, early pick on the Twilight. However, Fried gets caught, can't get away. And Smurf just walks him on a reset, goes, I'm going to walk forward, I'm going to shoot this gun a lot. Odds is going to clean up the scraps. And Vancouver quickly losing point A after what could have been a promising beginning.
Yeah, it's a bold move to name yourself Smurf in the esports landscape, but if you're always smurfing like that, it fits.
Yep. He's been that in the Overwatch League for a long time, where very few people can say they're smurfing at the OWL level, but Smurf's one of them, and right here, right place, right time, just gets a walk forward, hold down left click, and let it fly.
Yep. And just walking the wood chipper there. San Francisco Shock hoping Nero's Pulse Bomb lets them keep the point going. That kill on a roll certainly does help.
Yeah, I mean, you get the Zen that early. Again, Shock get to take it easy, get to flex their neutral advantage here, given that, they don't have a Sombra. Let Ons look for pickoffs, and, Nero can just relax. Doesn't have to use the Pulse Bomb until Vancouver's back up to a full 6.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of wait for that push to start to coalesce, no pun intended, and then find a flank to throw the Pulse Bomb into. All right, high noon activated. Dalton gets caught by it. Oh, no. Oh, poor Titans. They never had a chance in this one.
Yeah, Dalton's been priority number 1 for the Shock DPS, it seems. Take down Dalton and go. We'll wait for Linkser or anyone else on the team to beat us. And, thus far, with Dalton getting neutralized, it's been rough for Vancouver. Now, potentially heading into their final fight.
Yeah, I mean, Shock, too, they didn't really need to use a whole lot to repel that last attack. And it is starting to look like, unless Vancouver can really get something going here, it's going to be a quick 2-0 for the Shock here on Oasis, at least. We'll find out. Oh, no. Ons gets 2 to start things off. That is not what you want to see if you're a Vancouver fan.
Yeah, I think that was both window and supercharger, so Ons just had power upon power there and quickly flexed it upon Vancouver and, kind of ends the fight before it truly begins. Vancouver, though, you take a look, they have a huge amount of ults. The question is, can they get decent engage here? Chongsik is going to get an overtime, so this is still a winnable fight coming up for Vancouver.
Yeah, it's possible.
EMP comes out.
Oh, okay, that's a good start anyway, but no, they don't even get to the point. Oh, my, and San Francisco Shock able to take the first map of the series in short order. I'm not keeping track of the timer, ZP. I know some people out are doing that out there, but that's got to be pretty close to what we saw back in the June joust.
Yeah, that was fast, and a lot of it just comes down to the neutral game where the Shock were winning fights off poke before the full engage came in. Ons was just wild in terms of accuracy and early pickoffs, and yeah, I mean, Vancouver just was constantly on the back foot.
True enough. All right, well, a quick 2-0 on Oasis. Shock on the board. Don't go anywhere, though. We got another map coming up real quick here on the Overwatch League.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by TeamSpeak, the official voice supplier of the Overwatch League.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Overwatch League. Doa and ZP here. ZP shouldn't sound like a drive-through speaker anymore, so I think we're good here. But what's not so good is, unfortunately for Vancouver, they got rocked in the first map of the day. We'll see if they can pick it up, but San Francisco certainly looks like they came to play, don't they, ZP?
Yeah, San Francisco, I mean, this is what we expected. And also, when you have a big skill difference between the teams, you do see fights are just won on a mechanical basis. And that was the story of all of Map 1, right? Where Ons in particular was on fire, landing pick after pick. and the Shock were just outplaying in multiple facets of the game.
Yeah, we do see some subs as well. Super subbing in at the main tank role for Smurf, and Teru subbing in for Linkser at damage. So some swaps here and there as we go to our next map, which will be our assault map. It's going to be Volskaya Industries, and it remains to be seen if Vancouver can summon the strength today to try to come back and at least, make San Francisco work for it a little bit. Didn't really seem to be the case in map number 1, but you never know.
I think for Vancouver, their best hope of victory here is that they have to hope that Super's acumen on whatever hero he plays, might end up being Reinhardt here, is about the same level as acumen in Jump King that he was playing last night, where I did a little bit of research, and let me tell you, the man was failing jump after jump, and if his pins look as bad as jumping last night, Vancouver actually could be in for a good time.
So he was more like Jump Duke or something like that, some lower level of the aristocracy of jumping. I understand.
More
of like
a
plays
prince.
Ryan.
That's
Jump Prince.
Yeah. Not in the line of succession though.
I see. All right. Well, let's check out this play from Chongsik from our last map. Oh, he just couldn't get to the point. I was wondering about that. Yeah, because we caught it from the side room at the end of this map, that last map, and wondered kind of how the Titans managed to not get there in time. And Chongsik apparently trying, but 1 millisecond or so too late. Vancouver is going to be on the defense here on Volskaya. A lot of teams prefer to start off on defense because you kind of get that benchmark of where you need to get to on attack then. Yeah, makes sense.
The benchmark after this for Vancouver might be go really fast, continue to hold W, because Shock, their team that they definitely set quick times when they're on pace. And On's right now just going, does anyone dare challenge for a quick pick? It's not the case. And instead, swapping off the Shock. Now heading forward, but it's going to be a slower approach with the Orisa.
Yeah. All right. Teru is indeed playing the Pharah, so it was a good read by Ons early on to see if maybe that Pharah was going to poke her head out a little bit so he could try to take it off, but Teru doing the smart thing and waiting it out does show that Shock knows what they're up against. Twilight says, you know what, I'm a hit scan too, it's going to be fine. Violet gets in on the bloodthirsty action as well. It's a good start for San Francisco on the attack already.
Yeah, it's more than a good start. It's a fantastic start. I mean, losing 2 people that early, Fire going down now, 3 people.
Okay.
The point was already gone, Don. It's the Shock.
Right, that's it.
Stick a fork in it.
Yep. Type the GG on point A at least. Point B is where the Vancouver Titans are going to need to put together their defense. But this was one of the quickest point A's I've seen in a while here. No recontest, obviously. And On's already walking forward. The rest of the team going to follow soon, and we'll see how fast the Shock can get this done.
Yeah, I mean, that's a situation where Teru essentially aim-checked the Shock, and the Shock said, hey, our aim's pretty good. All 3 people that had hit scan just looked up, blasted them out of the sky, and, Chongsik no longer had cover, died immediately after. So it was a very quick escalation, though.
So we have a little bit of a pause. Not sure which player called for that. Needs a little bit of work done on their computer, possibly. We'll see if we get back into the game sooner. This isn't going to work, though, Vancouver. You can't make the match longer like this. I don't know if it's Vancouver that paused it. Don't listen, but either way, we'll see. The vehicle of technology, as it were, ZP. Breaking down momentarily, but we'll be able to get back into it. Looks like both teams are ready. So quick pause. We're back into the action. Vancouver Titans in just a moment, trying to put some sort of defense together. In 3, 2, 1, and here we go.
Yeah, I mean, their best hope for a quick defense here is Dalton just, landing an arrow from afar. The problem is Shock are going to open up here with the window and immediately be applying even more pressure.
Right. It's kind of taking the side route here. Trying to let Super go first and be able to set it up for Ons to walk in a little bit safer. Looks like they'll do just that. Oh, Nero's Pulse Bomb did get eaten by Fried Wiener, so Rolf got a kill on Nero. It's an opportunity, at least. Ons is out for blood, though. Goes after Chongsik and finds him.
Yeah, he went for the Deadeye for the quick reload, going, I need more bullets, give it to me. We don't need the Tracer, who had his pulse bomb in his life. Are you kidding me? No! Come on!
That did not just happen, ZP. That did not just happen like that. Are you kidding me? Vancouver Titans. I mean, nobody's going to be searching for the Sasquatch anymore, man. They're going to be like, yeah, it might be out there in the wilderness, but that is one cryptid we're not interested in anymore. I'm sorry, but that was a sad defense from the Titans.
AMC actually declined to pick up the show before it was even pitched. That
was not defense. That was nonsense.
Apparently not a top 5 time. Other teams have beefed harder on Volskaya Industries. The only takeaway there for Vancouver, I suppose.
I am shocked. I am shocked that's not a top 5 time actually for attack on Vancouver, or on the map rather. Maybe it is on the Vancouver Titans, but on the map at least. But either way, and the thing is the Titans had people nearby, didn't they? Didn't they have someone? They did, but Fried Wiener again. Oh, just couldn't get their Choyobin with the body block. Whoa! All right, nice moves from Choyobin, but still, that is about as rough as it gets for the Titans.
The thing I'll say, even though you have good body blocking going on to help enable that, there should be multiple layers of redundancy to touch a point. It should just be relying on one person while multiple people are still up, which is the real problem with that.
It looked like a rough fight for the Titans, right? But it didn't look like an immediate, round-ending fight, did it? But gotta shake it off. Goldfish brain, as Baby Bay used to say, right? If you're a pro player, you gotta forget that last round, focus on what's in front of you. And Vancouver Titans on the attack, they gotta get it done.
Yeah, I also like the Widow pick coming out here from Ons, where Teru already had a tendency to aim check in the last round. Aim checking a Widow can be pretty deadly. Widow, pretty hard to get value of nowadays. It's a lot weaker in terms of HP and escape, but if you land shots like Ons just did there, Doa, guess what? It can still be very effective. Although, as I say that, Chonsik hunted down Ons, and there's no mercy here for the Shock. He's dead for a while. He's probably coming back in on something else.
Yeah, I mean, Rolf is going to get back there a little bit quicker. Ons did not swap yet, walking back now. So, but Titans really not pushing in until right now to capitalize on it. Not sure if they're really going to be able to take advantage of the numbers situation as they have otherwise. Kind of need to wait for Rolf, though, I suppose.
They've waited a long time. Widow's actually going to have sight lines back in just a moment. Yeah. I mean, going for the aim check in over the top. For the most part, staying out the window. 2 HP down. Ons back into the fray.
Yeah, that's a very brave move from Teru to try to stare into the window there a little bit. I mean, yeah, you're above it at quite a steep angle, but you can still shoot through that. And Shock able to get a pretty solid defense. No ticks taken yet by the Vancouver Titans.
Yeah, you take a look at this here. I mean, a lot of it, when you run a Far Mercy, you're hoping that the Far can take over the game. You want a situation like Naga had, right, where you're not really running into any hard counters and you're really good at the Pharah and just take over a fight, but that's not what you get when you go up against the Shock, especially with the Widow in the back line there. The Widow walls are out right now, and it's just forcing Vancouver to wait and wait.
Absolutely.
Or not wait, to die.
Looking for picks, but he gets picked instead.
Yeah. Well, did not wait the requisite time for a better pick. Chonsik falling the Violet, and Doa, time gets away from us all here as it's only 1:40 left for Vancouver to make something happen.
That is very true, ZP. The time is ticking away for the Vancouver Titans to try to make something happen here on point A, but we've reached the moment where even if they do take point A, their time will be severely limited on point B, with a 5:10 on the clock for the San Francisco Shock. I don't know how you do it if you're the Titans.
I mean, 1 point at a time, one fight at a time. It's sort of a don't tell me the odds situation because the odds are so incredibly long against them that everything has to go right. Unfortunately, Teru goes down, which is very much wrong. The res is going to be there, but Vancouver has really struggled to put A pressure this far, and Teru's down again as Twilight just lights him up.
Oh man, C-3PO wouldn't be able to calculate how bad these odds are now for the Titans.
No. C-3PO, Doctor Strange, take whatever it is. The odds aren't going in Vancouver's favor right now. Not at all.
A couple kills for the Titans, but not enough to really make much of a difference. It's 35 seconds now for the Titans to try to take A, but the wind is out of their sails. The energy isn't there, it looks like. It is a big pick onto Twilight. Maybe we spoke too soon.
Yeah, they're going to go for a Nano Barrage here in all likelihood, where you look at Teru. Nano's probably going to be incoming in a moment. Shock is going to be back up to 5, so it's really on the split second the Nano activates. Can Teru find something big? At the Shock, they're willing to give up progress to the point here. You look at it, 2 ticks already gone. They're going to wait till the last second. Here they go. But look, into the air. Dalton drops pulse bomb, gets nothing. The Nano's on Teru. Teru firing. Dalton
get
gets
there?
Nero. It's one pick
All
so
right,
far.
Nero down.
Barrage comes in, and they might have.
I think they do. I think they've got point A. Okay, so in the end, Titans doing a good job of capitalizing on a pick and sort of zoning their way into a point A take. That was just a lot of abilities used well as they finish off Violet to keep the Shock out. The threat of the Nano Barrage that you mentioned, the use of the Minefield by Chansik when Choyobin came in, was a very methodically executed point A for the Titans at the very end. But like I said, now just 2:30 on the clock.
Yeah, the problem for Vancouver is that they only actually get one, maybe two fights to finish with time remaining here because, you know, if they finish overtime, it doesn't matter. But okay, that's huge. Teru, quick pickup on the Nero. Now 6 on 5. Teru coming in from the side. Needs to be a little bit more aggressive. Doing just that. Looking for the Brigida. Hovering over. Now, more rockets gets Twilight. It's 2 early picks out for Vancouver. Make it 3. The Pharah getting some big momentum here as Vancouver might just get the point with time after all.
Oh, Teru just trying to put this team on his back right now. Dalton helping out, though. And the Titans may actually be able to take this. We'll see. San Francisco Shock's defense collapsing a little bit here.
Yeah, Teru this time was able to get through, landed good rockets, wasn't under too much pressure. Twilight gonna drop the window. Vancouver has to be real careful not to lose anyone in this moment. They get Choi out of the mech. Teru to the back, off the Nano. 50 HP, gets healed back up. Barrage over the top. Teru continuing to light up the Shock here, Doa. And it's exactly what Vancouver needs to have a chance of staying in this map. And they've just about done it.
I mean, Shock just can't seem to handle the Pharah right now from Teru. And Dalton on the side kind of doing a good job of capitalizing on all the chaos that Teru's producing. They're on the verge of actually capturing with time remaining.
Teru under heavy pressure from the Shock, especially in the hit scan end. Has to back out for a moment. Dalton, meanwhile, on the ground, taking ball advantage. On's out of the fight. Dalton continuing to move forward. Immortality field gone. The kill feed filling with blue. Pride gets demexed, but still not too big of a deal. Vancouver keeping on the pressure. Shock, though, trying to drain the clock here, Doa. They've done a really good job of it, and now we're under a minute. Vancouver needs to clean out this last little bit. They're almost there, but not quite yet.
Yeah, the strategy has been good for Shock to just send people on, just stagger as much as they can. Say, you know what, we acknowledge you're probably going to take this point, but we are going to make sure that you do it with as little time remaining as possible. And man, this is one of the best staggers I've seen in a long time, actually.
This would be unreal if Shock was able to bring the clock all the way down to 0. It's becoming more and more likely. They got more people onto point. They might even outright win the fight the way this is going. Oh, Deadeye gets 2. Oh boy, Dawn, that's probably it. Vancouver so close, yet so far.
This is a nightmare. Vancouver Titans had 2 minutes where they were less than a tick away from taking the point. But the San Francisco Shock staggered masterfully. They held. Can they finish it? We're into overtime.
Overtime's in progress, but it might be a very short time. Doa, Rule picked up by Nair in the back. On's back in his happy spot on top. Pride out of the fight. And that is going to be it. The Shock go up 2-0 here in the series off a relentless defense here on point B.
Wow, and that is backbreaking for the Vancouver Titans to come so close to continuing it. You could see the frustration, but credit to Shock for holding on. I was not expecting them to be able to prevent the Vancouver Titans from capturing, but just a really, really great stagger and then a good last fight.
Yeah, and you know, I feel bad for Teru here, where Teru's just like, surely we got this. Can't ask much more for Pharah on that sequence of plays, but the Shock, they managed to keep it in contest long enough for that turnaround to happen. And now Vancouver looking for the reverse sweep here, Doe, if they want to make anything else happen here in the Countdown Cup.
True enough. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll see if San Francisco can seal the deal with a 3-0 or if the Titans bring it back. Don't go anywhere. Overwatch League returns right after this. Hey everyone, welcome back. This season we want to celebrate you, the best of us, by hearing directly from you on what you love about the Overwatch League. Share your highlights and favorite moments of the season for a chance to win a trip to the 2021 Grand Finals in LA on September 25th. To find out more and enter the I Love Overwatch League contest, visit blizzard.wishpond.com/Grand Finals. Seems like a good idea, doesn't it, CP?
It does, and you know, the scriptwriters are already responding to the feedback. Apparently one of the things that people love most are tragic C9s, and that's why we've seen so many of them here today. That's right, we heard your feedback, we implemented it. Yep.
Oh man, like, you know, I think everyone was expecting a 3-0 coming into this one, but it is painful to see. I especially feel bad for Teru in our last map, who honestly played so well on the Pharah, but, you know, the team just didn't have it in them. We do have some subs though. Glister subbing in for Ons and Linkser. It's called Liver for some reason. Linkser subbing in for Teru. And so we'll see what happens on the third map here.
I really thought you were about to say Libero. I'm like, wait, he's back? The legend?
Oh man, if only. Libero is one of my favorite players. He still is one of my favorite players of all time. I miss that guy. Literally the Swiss Army knife of Overwatch.
Supposedly he's turned into a crypto baron or something, though. So apparently he's doing great.
Nice. He's the Swiss Army knife of just everything, apparently.
Yeah, does
big brain
everything.
nerd out there conquering the world.
But yeah, on to the match itself here. You take a look. We got some subs in here where, you know, I think Ons is so incredibly good. I always sort of wonder, is it worth subbing him out? But Glister also really strong player. And for the Shock, I mean, this is a key time to sort of experiment and try out different things if you're going to, because you're up 2-0 and,
sure,
you know, so far the difference has been pretty profound.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like, and I mean, if you just look at Shock's roster, I don't think there's really anyone they could sub in and make themselves significantly weaker against the Vancouver Titans in their current state. And it's, you know, we're saying a lot of rough things about the Vancouver Titans, but, you know, what can you do? You got to call it like you see it, right? And, you know, as much as we wish success for these players, when it comes down to game time, you got to perform, right?
Yep, and, you know, for Vancouver, it's disappointing because there was kind of that thought where they got their first win going, wait, you know, has Vancouver, you know, put together for a little bit of a run towards the end of the season. You know, some people wondering, like, hey, could they even make Countdown Cup? What a story that would be. And, you know, unfortunately for Vancouver, they've sort of regressed to the mean here. They are up against some very tough competition, especially today in the show.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. We're going to Kings Row. It's going to be our next map and possibly our last map in the series, as the Shock have looked very dominant thus far.
You know, the one thing I really like looking at the Shock is that I feel like the Shock are, you know, people, again, they underrate them a bit this season simply because, like, hey, also, something might just happened. Doa, so take the wheel for a second.
Yeah, we'll do. Drive-through ZP just got back for a moment, apparently. San Francisco Shock getting set up on the attack here against the Vancouver Titans. And we'll see how quickly they can get the job done. 5 minutes and 10 seconds in the time bank on Volskaya. That's mind-blowingly fast. I'm still shocked that wasn't even a top 5 time. But they're going to try to set another record here on Kings Row, no doubt about it. Glister loading up on the Pharah, possibly. Twilight on the Mercy. We'll see if they stick with it. It's certainly a point where you can run that. That said...
So the point I was about to get to is that the Shock are very adaptive right now, where a lot of teams will run into something like a Pharah and go, wait, what do we do? Teams like the Fusion even have that issue at times. The Shock, they have a deep enough roster that they have a good answer to really any meta that comes down the pipe where, yeah, they haven't been the best tournament team this year, but still a team you really have to watch out for.
For sure, yeah. Use the attack for the Shock, approaching methodically. Didn't end up being the Pharah. Okay, Violet does get the pick on the Dalton, getting bloodthirsty on the Zenyatta. I always love to see it. Zenyatta kills are the best kills in Overwatch, and that's going to be a 6v5 the Shock can capitalize on now.
Well, you know what? They're just trying to pander to you, Noah. They realized you were cast in this game and said, we want to give Doa a show. But the problem here is that this isn't even much of a team fight, right? Is that you get the early pickoff, and Vancouver's already such a hole that...
Oh, my goodness, EP! What's going on?
Well, it's a lot of cleanup, Doa, and it wasn't in question. The early pickup from Violet, I mean, that's all you had to say there, because Vancouver lost a lot of their opportunity to make anything happen. It makes your McCree in particular a really easy target to isolate once a Tracer is out of the fight that early.
I appreciate production going to lengths to actually give us the replay of the Zenyatta kill. It was a big pick. It started off everything great for Shock, so I appreciate that on a personal level. Thank you.
Well, Vancouver now setting up once more. Shock looking to set yet another speed record, if possible. Things are rolling forward, and it's going to be Glister. Open up the Dragon Strike, built up real fast back on point A, nearly eats Rolf alive. The Immortality kill, the only thing saving Rolf.
It was a good halt. It was a good attempt here. Linkser comes in from behind. Oh, gets a flashbang, manages to take out Glister. Good flank here, but he might go down real quick. He does.
Yeah, I mean, he pays the price for it. It's a 1-for-1, and the Shock still can win this. Drops the Pulse Bomb as Narrow, gets another 2, and it's a scrappy fight. It's a bit bloody, but all the while, you see the payload moving forward, though. The Shock are still okay with this trade. The problem is, of course, they're a bit light on healing right now, so Narrow has to find his own healing, goes back to the pub. The Shock will back out just a little bit, but double support ult's online as they come back in.
You know, there's not a lot of reasons to go to your local pub for health purposes, but you know, Overwatch, once in a while it's okay.
Health food got really big in the 2040s, though, even more so than
I guess so.
It's unbelievable. Everything is gluten-free. Right. But you know, it's not free of bullets from BAP. The window coming out early. Dalton in the back, looking for the Pulse Bomb. Still looking for any opportunity. Deadeye connects with Linkser. Pulse Bomb in from Dalton. Just damage onto the tanks. Is it going to be enough? Fried takes down Twilight, and yeah, Vancouver looking like they're going to hold.
Yeah, a good hold so far from the Titans here. They do force San Francisco back a little bit. Choyabin trying to duck and weave his way to success, and end up working out. So, the Titans with a decent hold here. Yeah, Shock stymied a little bit, but they are coming back with some pretty serious ultimates. And whoa, you don't peek the Zen. You don't peek the Zenyatta when you're out of the mech. Come on, Chance. Come on, Fried Wiener. You know better than that.
Yeah, the problem with Fried is that he really wanted his mech back, so he decided to take the risk. Now they're going to start the beginning of this without Fried. It's going to hurt their position. He will be back so long as no one gets picked off in the meantime. But oh, they forced out the Immortality field early before Fried's back, and Narrow gets in, drops the Pulse Bomb on an already weakened Chauncey. The Shock create an opportunity off that pressure, started from the Fried stagger, and it just escalates from there.
Yeah, this is going to be point B for the San Francisco Shock. Decisive teamfight win, and they didn't even need to use the Dragon Strike from Glister as well, which is nice because this point coming up, point C is one of the ones where Dragon Strike is quite effective on. There's a lot of narrow corridors to throw that down where you can kind of zone the enemy team into taking a big hit from it.
Yeah.
Sniper battle.
Although, yeah, Vancouver going for a little bit of swap. Widow out here into the back.
Oh, wait. Fried Wiener.
Pause,
nice.
Please.
Oh, all right. We got to pause.
Yep.
You don't often see Divas eat the Dragon Strike, but if you're quick enough, if you've got the defensive matrix in the right place at the right time, it certainly does happen. So props to Fried for getting that done.
You know what I miss?
About it now, you can see. Yeah.
You know what I miss, because I feel like I haven't seen it in 2 seasons, at least in games I've casted, is Genji deflections on the ultimates. You stop and think. Yeah. When was the last time you saw a Graviton get deflected at a team?
You don't see a lot of Genji, really. Yeah. I think that's the main reason. We see a bit here and there, but he's just not as popular as he used to be, for sure.
These are some very quick pauses and unpauses. So technical issues resolving as quick as they crop up, apparently. Dalton, though, Pulse Bomb. Good to go. Gets the stick.
Nice stick from Dalton to start off the defense right for the Vancouver Titans. But that said, Superman just to pick one up, and now Nero joining as well. Dalton trying to finish off on the tanks, but he just can't get quite enough damage into the mech to do it. Violet comes up and says, you know what? It's time. It's time for me to show that I can win these 1v1s. And he does it.
It's stall time now for Vancouver. This is not going to be great. Already, they lose the Widow immediately as she peeks back out. I don't think they have a comp, really, the stall for long. They drop the Supercharger, but there's no one really to back it up. But hey, drop the Transcendence just in case. You're not going to need it next round.
Why not? Yeah.
And we swap over. That's a quick time, Dylan. A real quick time.
You know, those end of round Transcendences, man, that's just like the disco ball. That's the party at the end. That's what that's for. San Francisco Shock, 318 in the time bank, as you can see. And so, pretty solid attack. Decent defense by the Titans in the middle there towards the end of point B, but that was about it. Underworld. That doesn't sound like a very fun amusement park.
No, I don't think it is. Well, you take a look here. It's entire Omnic dwelling down here. Like, that's why the entire premise of King's... It's very grimdark, though, because every time you complete the payload, you're essentially killing thousands of Omnics beneath King's Row. It's actually very messed up. So,
You know-
the moral of the story is have a good defense, I guess.
You know what that Omnic City reminds me of, though, is the layout for Blackrock Spire in World of Warcraft.
True.
Or Blackrock Mountain, rather.
Yeah, no, I actually see it.
It's very similar. I like the things going across, kind of like the chains, right? The platforms in the middle.
Yeah.
Lava at the bottom.
Well, you know what that means? We just need to add a priest into Overwatch that can mind control people and throw them into the lava. Just complete the experience, as everyone
true.
recently found out again in Classic WoW a year or two back.
That's true. If you go to retail, you can just life grip your friends right at the edge, and then hopefully they walk off, right?
Yeah, I hope so. That is the hope. But Doa, we're swapping rounds here. It's going to be Vancouver on the attack. And if they want to keep the series alive, well, they got to go fast.
Indeed they do. They are blue. They need to summon the power of the Hedgehog that shares the color with that to be able to make it to later innings here. Flank from Changsik. Linkser actually swaps over to the Hanzo. Okay.
Yeah, Linkser could be looking for picks. And, Hanzo v Hanzo battles can be pretty volatile, even if there's a team gap. There's always that potential for one arrow to change everything. You always have to play very methodical against a Hanzo.
Yeah, very true.
We'll see how much respect the shot give the Linkser.
Oh, no.
Oh, as I say that, 2 already down.
I mean, that was just a nice little dive by Choyobin to get that done, and then Twilight finishing off some kills there, and Shock holding easily. They do lose Glister. They don't have a res for him. He's going to have to take the long way back. Wonder if we might see a swap. Nero, though, trying to chase Dalton down, and he does just that.
Yep, Nero also no fear in going after Linkser, where it's always tricky as a tracer, where, no matter how good you are, you always have that risk of Hanzo just landing the arrow up close,
Yeah.
and, there's no mercy the res or otherwise, but Nero goes, yeah, I'm going to take it. I have faith I can win it, and he does.
Why not? Vancouver Titans trying to loop around the side for their setup here. Changsik, gets it with a flashbang. Oh,
Yeah.
no.
Changsik
Well-
just got completely isolated. His escape route was not an escape route when everyone in the Shock decided to close the door. And that's already 2 down
right.
for Vancouver. Nero might drop the pulse bomb to pile on here, but, the Shock just chilling
No
right
need
now.
to,
though.
really. I mean, yeah, that's the thing. You've got this narrow choke on King's Row, so things like the Pulse Bomb are a major premium if the D.Va defense matrix is down, and top Tracer players like Nero are going to be watching for that cooldown and knowing when to throw the Pulse Bomb in.
Linkser now going even higher risk, even higher reward onto the Widow. It's going to be way less shield pressure, but more chance for that one magical pick. The Shock
Wow,
will get
look at
dropped
this
down.
engage.
Twilight drops a window. Twilight looking for it. Nero, meanwhile, punishes Changsik. It doesn't matter if he's on Ball or Orisa. Either way, he's target number 1. And that's the front line for Vancouver gone as Linkser just struggling to find anything right now, Doa.
I mean, it was a great setup, right? You put the wall down when you drop down like Shock does. Here's a little bit more cleanup here. And when the wall is down, that's going to force your team back. They do lose super, so a little bit tricky now for Shock on the next defense. But as you get forced back from the wall, that gives opportunities for your Tracer to come in and throw those pulse bombs, usually unopposed. So just a good execution from Shock on the defense. Now they got to hold until their main tank gets back.
Also, this is a really big window for Linkser because the Shock, if they want to counter poke, they don't have a shield to hide behind. It's where Widow will, get brief opportunities for big pickoffs. But so far, Linkser just getting damaged. No headshots to be found just yet. And here we go. Self-destruct for Choi. Gonna lead the Shock back onto the point. Changsik down first again. The tank focus fire, unreal for the Shock. And now Transcendence out for Vancouver.
Oh, that
1
feels
minute
so
left
bad.
to go, and they're committing, but Linkser gets 1 pick. Still winnable now for Vancouver. Roof firing here from the hotel. Takes down from Glister. Linkser, though, gets another. Linkser with 2 picks so far. Vancouver still the opportunity.
Yeah, but a Widowmaker can't take the point on her own. They're already staggering the D.Va a little bit. Glister does go down. Nice uppercut from Fried there. And so San Francisco, it's a little bit trickier hold. They need to give a little bit of space, but man, I can tell you from experience, nothing feels worse as a Zenyatta player than hitting your Transcendence right after your main tank dies. That is the worst feeling in the world.
Yeah, it's not ideal, whether it be casual or pro play. Pulse Bomb eaten by Choi. Not the flashiest eat, but hey, it counts. Woo. Nero, meanwhile, finds Rolf, and Nero on a rampage towards the end. Good, solid, reliable Tracer play coming in from Nero, and with 10 seconds left, that could be all she wrote here. Vancouver, maybe an emergency touch Doa, but they might not even get that.
It's going to be tough to even get in there. We'll see if they can do it. No, can't quite, and that is the series, ZP. San Francisco Shock with the 3-0 victory over the Vancouver Titans. I think a lot of us saw it coming. Some hoped that we might see a bit of a closer series, but it was not to be. The Shock, again, we talked about the fact that they were going to play this one seriously. There were a couple subs here and there, but overall I think really tight play from the Shock, and you need that if you want to do your best to secure that top 3 spot in the West and avoid the play-ins at the end of the season, which is the mission right now for the San Francisco Shock, and this will get them there.
Yeah, I mean, for the Shock. Also, it's an entire thing, too, is that the way you judge the strength of a team, right, isn't how they win close games in a lot of times for me, is that it's like, can you solidly execute against a team that's way weaker than you? I feel like it's way scarier when you often see, like, teams like Atlanta, for example. They'll perform well against top teams a lot of the time, but they'll also, like, drop games against way lower teams or have really close games and go, what's going on? Whereas your championship teams, they don't do that as often, do it. They just go up against a weaker team and they crush them. It's a mark of consistency for the Shock to come in against a team like Vancouver and make it a solid, convincing 3-0.
Yep, that's right. And, you know, you and I have been talking about a little bit. You like to say that the Shock have not quite entered their playoff zone yet, right? Where it's like, you know that the Shock are going to get to a point where they're going to turn it on and they're going to try to be those contenders again to win it all, right?
Yeah, and I mean, the Shock, this is a team no one should be sleeping on, even though I think a lot of people are. I think it's a team that still has a great chance of winning the Overwatch League Championship again. I think they're a team that could bring the fight to a team like Shanghai under the right circumstances. So people should be looking at this team and going, yeah, you should be afraid. I think they're going to excel as the postseason approaches.
Let's take a look at one of those players in particular on the San Francisco Shock. It's our player of the match. It's going to be Twilight. That's right, a little bit of love for the support. I wanted to say flex support, but honestly, both Twilight and Violet pretty bloodthirsty and able to play pretty much anything. The lines have blurred, ZP, in terms of what heroes are played these days. But Twilight playing great today, hitting a lot of good shots, really good windows, crisp execution. You gotta love it.
Yeah, I mean, Twilight, you can't ask for more. He was pumping out a whole lot of healing. His windows were on point. He was a big reason why Terrio simply did not have a good time on the Pharah throughout most of the match. I mean, when you get this little contribution from one of your support players, it lets all your other players just look that much better. And, you know, this is a case where Twilight kind of stole the show.
Yeah, solid stats on the Baptiste today from Twilight. And it's fun. I think the support duo that Shock has is just really impressive. Violet and Twilight, I guess, if you put them together, are just awesome to watch. One of my favorite moments of that match was when Violet was charging up his right click on Zenyatta, and I heard the McCree say, like, I need healing, and he didn't, just ignored him completely. He's like, no, man, no, I need all 5 orbs. Just be patient. Just stay out of sight or something,
oh, you need healing. That's unfortunate. Just watch these orbs fly instead, is what he did. But yeah, you know, Violet, if they were a DBZ character they're fusing, that'd be their name. So congratulations.
That's right.
You've coined a new term.
Fusion dance, yeah. Exactly. Well, we're going to take a quick break. As you can see, an interview with Choi Bin coming up. Don't miss that. And then after that, we've got the Florida Mayhem versus the LA Gladiators. It's going to be a fun match, so stick around for that. We will be back momentarily on the Overwatch League.